topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Our show for the next 50 minutes is a special show. This is our 15th year of doing Ask the Experts. And to show you how important this show is, it is one of the, I would say, I think maybe we might have one other show that we do run more than once a month, but this is a live show that we do the entire 50 minutes because of its importance. It's also, we do a second live show each month, and we've made this show a national show. We normally do our shows by city or by state, but this is our only national show because of its importance. We realize when you have a tax problem, it really weighs on you. And our expert has been with us for about 12 years. And I've never had so much respect for a way a company runs their business than I have Taxation Solutions. We have with us today Barry Fowler. He's the president and founder of Taxation Solutions, Inc. He's an enrolled agent. If you don't know what that is, we will tell you what that is. He's licensed to represent taxpayers before the Internal Revenue Service. Whoa, can you imagine going up against the Internal Revenue Service every day? His experience in tax and finance industry spans over 30 years. Fowler's experience includes tax resolution, tax planning, and tax return preparation. He's been instrumental in helping thousands of people resolve complex tax issues with the IRS. Welcome. This is my longest monologue I do with any of my shows. Good morning, Barry Fowler.
Hey, good morning, Steve. Now, how do I follow that up at all? I mean,
bro, I got to tell you, I am like your biggest fan. And I try not to do that with the business I'm in, but I just have so much respect for what you do. And we get people contacting us all the time, other companies wanting to do a show with us. And I got to tell you, I know, listen, no one's perfect, Barry, but God, I see the remarks on Google about other tax relief companies, how people paid all this money, and then it was like impossible. The biggest thing was impossible to get a phone call even returned. And that is not how you run Taxation Solutions.
No, we get the opposite. Is why are you calling us so much? Which, sometimes you're just sitting there going, hey, we got to keep you informed. We want to keep you informed. If it was me, I would want somebody calling and informing me of where we're at and what's the status of our case with the IRS. And it's things like that make a difference between a good run company that cares about their clients and a company that cares about just the bottom line and, hey, how much money can we take and move on. We try to work with our clients. It's kind of like yesterday's, I'm talking to a client. He's actually 70 years old and he's going back to work because he's in debt. And we're like, okay, well, right before you take that job, let's get you into a non-collectible status. Let's run the statute of limitations on a couple of these years, because the IRS won't mess with you for a couple of years, because we can get you into that non-collectible status here really quick. And then, part of that debt will fall off at the end of the year, and part of it will fall off beginning of next year, before the IRS even realizes that he's actually working and making more money. And then he'll be left with a little bit of debt. So he's like, but other people wanted to put me in an offer and compromise. Offer and compromise is going to take you a year plus, possibly, for the IRS to approve it. And then if you've been started working, you're going to end up paying a lot more. And why stop the statute of limitations by filing an offer when we can let a lot of this money, run out? So there's more than one way to make this work, or as I always say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I get in trouble for that one. Sorry. And my wife will probably be running in here in a little bit going, how dare you say that one? But there's more than one way to put a solution in place with the IRS. And it's got to be the right one that benefits you, the taxpayer, our client, because that's who we represent.
Barry, listen, I know you've been doing this for a long time. Do you ever think about, when a person's got the IRS coming after them, it is got to be the worst experience in the world. You don't know who's going to show up at your doorstep. You don't know if they're going to hit your bank account. When they sign up with Taxation Solutions, I got to tell you, that right there has taken half the burden off their shoulder right then and there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as soon as they become a client with us and sign our power of attorney that we use, the 2848, to represent them with the IRS, that weight goes on our shoulders. And we step in right into your boots to take over the case, represent you. You don't ever deal with the IRS. Matter of fact, the nice welcome package we give our clients once you sign up even includes business cards in there that says, hey, give this to the IRS agent if they call or if they come by. Give them our number. Tell them you have representation and shut the door. Or if they're on the phone, hang up the phone. Then pick up the phone and call us and let us know who came by, their number. If they've got our power of attorney on file, they violated the law. And we're going to make it stick. We're going to take every recourse we can against somebody that is going to violate what's in the law, what's in the manual, and the way they've got to go about doing it, because we now represent you. Now, if we fail in representation because we're not responding to a revenue officer, they're going to come at us. And, because we have responsibility to represent you, the taxpayer, that is our client. But if you're not responding to us and we can't respond to them, we're responding to them anyway. But we have to let them know that you're not getting us the information timely, or we can't meet this deadline and we need an extension. There's things that happen in life. We can get extensions in most cases. Now, if you've abused this revenue officer over the years and you're finally just getting with us, man, I'm going to get a revenue officer who's in a bad mood. And all he wants to do or she wants to do is get the money from you any way possible. And, that's one of the things that, when we're dealing with revenue officers who have been dealing with our clients for a period of time, we've got to smooth things over and show them that, hey, we are real, that we're really going to help take care of this problem and keep them at bay so that you can go back to living your life. Hey, if I fail or I get stonewalled by the IRS, sometimes it keeps me up at night. I can just imagine having that weight of the debt and collections of the IRS weighing on you and your sleep at night when you owe that kind of money and you're not sure what the IRS is going to do.
Barry, I've learned from doing your show that a lot of times people will try to handle it themselves, and they end up really burying themselves by what they say to the IRS. And I have learned that it is so much better for them to hire you in the beginning, because they could really hurt their case by what they tell the IRS, because you know what to say, but a person off the street does not.
Not only do I know what to say, but I know how to defer. So, I may not have the answer I want to give them. And I don't want to give them that answer today, even if I know the answer. I can defer and say, I've got to find out from my client. I've got to have that discussion. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Let me find out about that. There's a lot of things that I can do because I'm not the taxpayer. Now, hopefully I already know what the IRS is going to ask and what they're looking for, because you've been forthright and forthcoming with information to us that we're looking for to help represent you. But there are times that I am blindsided and wasn't aware of things. And, we've truly got to go back for information. But even if I'm aware of it, I know how to plead a little bit of ignorance and get out there and be able to put what they're looking for in the right light to avoid maybe adverse collection actions happening quicker, or losing a piece of property that you need for business or life or income that's coming to you so that you can continue to live your life. Those are the kind of things that we get to do when we sit down and start dealing with the IRS on your behalf, so that you're not going to have a problem. Now, hey, if you've gone and disclosed things and you've answered questions the right way or the wrong way, it's like the Bible to them. It was right. It's 100% correct. And therefore, trying to get that changed is more of an act of God sometimes than it should be. Hey, the client just answered this question wrong, and this is really the truth. They ask us to prove it, is what they ask us to do, and we've got to jump through some additional hoops. So, you kind of got to watch what you say when you're dealing with the IRS. Not to say it can't be done, because we advise quite a few people at times. Hey, sometimes it's just easier and more cost effective for you to do it yourself than to hire us or somebody else. Hey, this is what you need to go and say, and this is what you need to do, and you'll be fine.
Before we go to the chat line, Jasmine, we had someone who wrote us, Barry, who Kurt in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He said, I was listening to your show, and you are absolutely right about contacting the IRS. I was on hold for literally 3 hours. How do you get through to them?
We're a practitioner, and we do have a priority line, so we're able to make some inroads a little bit quicker than some other people can. But there are times that we do sit on hold for a couple of hours, and if we get lucky, we get through right away. We know, at least on our practitioner line, there are times that I can call a little bit easier than other times and get things done. And I don't tell other practitioners this, because I don't want them competing with me when I know I can get through, either. But as a normal taxpayer, sometimes it's really hard to get through collections. And by the time you're done waiting, I think your patience is gone as well. And you get a little bit snippy with the revenue agent that's on the phone, and you start answering questions that you shouldn't answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the chat line. By the way, feel free to, we're getting a lot of questions on the text, but feel free to send us your questions right here on the chat line. Jasmine, do they come and knock on your door? You have to let someone in your home.
Well, first, Jasmine, you probably have a revenue officer assigned to you that you have been completely ignoring. and they have sent you letters. They have probably tried to gather information, or, maybe you're going through an audit and they've summons information. That's typically when they would come out to your door and knock on your door, or maybe a criminal investigation by the IRS as well. If they do have a summons and everything then in hand, or they've sent it to you, you probably got to let them in. But I would call your attorney at that point. Don't call an enrolled agent. Don't call a tax resolution firm. Call your attorney, because you probably have a bigger problem and you're going to need an attorney that's going to handle this, as opposed to an enrolled agent or a CPA or, the tax experts and stuff. You're going to want somebody that's going to actually represent you in that case.
Barry, I want to make sure people know you've got your own show that you do on Mondays. Tell people about that.
Yeah, we have our own show right here in W4CY Radio, Tax Talk for You, and you can go subscribe at taxtalk4you.com, so you never miss an episode. We're talking taxes. We talk about bookkeeping for businesses, tax planning. We do talk about tax relief. We've done some shows. If you're thinking about doing it yourself, if you look up our podcasts for Tax Talk for You, I've got shows that are Tax Resolution 101, Tax Resolution 102, giving a lot of insight on doing your own resolution as well. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you think you want to really get out there and do it yourself, hey, watch those 2 episodes, because it'll give you a lot of good information on tax relief and getting resolution to your tax problems.
That leads us right to your new IRS playbook. How is that going?
It's been fantastic. I've got a lot of people in the industry ask me, why in the heck would you write that? You're losing business. And no, actually, I'm gaining business, because people realize that we do what we say, and we say what we're going to do, and we do it the right way. So we wrote this book, irsplaybook.info. You can go over there, get in, see the book. It gives you the 3 steps that help you solve your tax problem. It's 3 simple steps that we go through. There's more complications to it, but it is 3 simple steps that we go through, and the processes we use to do resolution and tax relief for our clients, right there. And we laid it out perfectly for, people that are possibly wanting to do it themselves, or think they can do it themselves. And they want to find more information. There's the information for you.
Barry, I got to tell you, I have never seen anybody who goes the extra mile like you do in your company. I know once in a while I'll share a story. I had a friend contact Barry, and I know, Barry, most companies would have said, send us a check, send us your money. And Barry said, you don't need my services. This is what you do. And that was one of the things that I gained so much respect for you. But you do so many, like the IRS playbook, and the way you market your company, and even what you do with truck drivers. Who would have ever thought? And it's so obvious that that's a great area to market in, but you don't ever hear about that. But Taxation Solutions, you have an actual division that helps truck drivers.
Oh yeah, we have truckertaxtools.com that does bookkeeping and taxes for truckers all across the country. Matter of fact, Trucker Tax Tools is actually doing a special on bookkeeping. We do basic bookkeeping for truckers for $25 a week. You're not going to beat that price,
No.
anywhere out there. So, if you go in and mention Ask the Experts, and you heard it here, truckers and trucker bookkeeping for $25 a week, man, we're trying to, I think we're giving it away these days, especially with inflation and the cost of employees and everything else. And everything is done here at our corporate headquarters out of the Houston area in Texas. And we send nothing overseas. We send nothing to these other low price places where you're not sure where your information's going. We keep it right here in Texas, and we work all across the country for drivers. And it grew out of not us wanting to go out and do bookkeeping for truckers. I've done bookkeeping and taxes for a number of truckers for 30 plus years. It grew out of us helping truckers get out of their tax problem, and then they came to us and said, hey, you solved this problem. Now, can't you help us with bookkeeping and taxes for our companies as well? And I went, well, we're a resolution firm. And they're like, come on, you're the expert at this. You guys solve this, and you've told us how to stay out of this, but now we need somebody to actually do it. And these guys don't know what they're doing. And I went, all right, we'll start a division and company, Trucker Tax Tools. And here we are today, growing rapidly, giving away services at a low cost. Again, it's $25 a week. Go to truckertaxtools.com. You can call that same number for taxation solutions that we have, 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. For tax relief, trucker taxes, and bookkeeping, we do it. Just call that number, get a free consultation, and we can get you that lower price.
We just had somebody text us, Barry. This is really kind of cool. He said, my father's birthday is coming up, and and he is having tax problems. I think the best birthday gift I can give him is giving him your phone number. Wow. Wow. That.
Absolutely.
We've never heard that one before, Barry.
And we'll tell him happy birthday. So, text us his name, and we'll tell him happy birthday. How old is he? We'll give him a special birthday discount.
Will you sing happy birthday, Barry?
No, I will not sing happy birthday. And I don't think you want my sales guy singing happy birthday, but we might be able to find a happy birthday song on the phone or something we could play for him. But again, it's going to start by calling the 877-996-6477, give it to him, and let's say happy birthday, and we'll help him out, get him out of his tax troubles.
Barry, I've told you so many times, you have the greatest stories. And we've actually had people text me and saying how great your stories are. What problems have you seen from bad tax preparers?
Oh, it's all over the place. We've seen where people make up a business and add it to the tax return. And I'm sitting there talking to the client, and they've gone through an audit, and I go, so what's this business? What do you mean business? I don't have a business. Well, it's on your tax return. You have a Schedule C. And he's like, what do you mean? I don't know. Did you even look at your tax return when you signed it? Oh, well, I was getting a refund. Well, that's the bottom line. That just tells you how much money you're getting back. Well, yeah, he did a good job because he got me money back. He lied. You committed perjury and fraud. No, I didn't, because I just signed the return. He did it. No, read that paragraph. Under penalties of perjury and fraud. Yeah. You say this is true and correct. Not the tax preparer. He didn't sign it saying that. He signed it saying he prepared it basically based on the information you provided. Well, I didn't provide him that business stuff. Yeah, he committed a crime, and you can turn him into OPR, Office of Professional Responsibility, and they may take it up and go after him. But at the end of the day, you are absolutely responsible for that tax return. So it doesn't make sense. Somebody going in exaggerating charitable contributions to try to get over a standard deduction that's really high these days. or making up mortgage interest. Some of these things are tied back to documents that the government gets, and it's really, really difficult. Or they leave the business, they're in business and they leave it completely off their tax return. And now the IRS has compared your 1099 NEC that they received to your tax return, and it's not there. Now you got a problem. We see in businesses, a lot of problems with payroll taxes and not filing, or we see people that have filed wrong. You're running a business and maybe you registered your EIN as a multi-member LLC and you're filing on Schedule C, but it's requiring a 1065, a partnership return. Or you set up a corporation, Jim Bob's Barbecue, Inc., and you got your EIN and the IRS sends you a letter back saying you got to file an 1120, which is a corporate tax return. But you thought you set up an S Corp, but you didn't follow through and file all the paperwork. Guess what? You got to file that 1120 every single year from the year the IRS says, hey, this is where you started. Now, here was another good one. Client set up their business in September, got whoever did this for him or whoever gave him the advice, they supposedly got their S Corp status retroactive to January 1, which can't happen if you file the forms correctly because you didn't start your business until September. Then they were required to file an S Corp tax return, but they filed it on Schedule C. Then they added payroll under their old DBA with themselves on payroll, which is not allowed when you're on Schedule C, and not underneath the new company that they had. Talk about a cluster of mistakes and problems. It's because didn't want to pay somebody for advice and planning and helping, and now got themselves into more deep water, more problems than they could ever imagine. And the cost is much higher than paying somebody just to give them some professional advice on here's what you need to do. Here's the steps you need to follow when setting up a business. And then here's where you go from there. Problems that were easy to solve in the beginning with a little bit of planning and a little bit of help, and harder to solve at the end and more expensive to put a solution to that problem in place.
Barry, I shared with you our last show that there's a tax prepare company that, oh my God, they big national advertisers. And one of the things they claim is if you have a problem after they prepare your taxes, that they'll go in with you to the IRS. I got to tell you, that is the biggest crock, Barry. I have a friend of mine who they're saying owes $2,000 from the tax preparer, and now it's time to call up this company and say, okay, I need your representation now. And crickets, Barry, crickets. Does that surprise you at all?
Doesn't surprise me. We hear the stories all the time, and they'll go and say, well, I've already got audit protection, or I've got this protection. And 9 times out of 10, when you go back to that company, the company just looks at you and says, it's your own fault. You didn't provide a document. And it could be that maybe you've been using this company 2 or 3 years and you've provided the document in the past and they just didn't ask you for the document this year. I mean, we get clients all the time that will argue with us sometimes about filling out what we call as our organizer. It helps us organize your data and make sure that we've got everything that we need to prepare your taxes correctly. Because we don't know where you're getting your W-2 from each year. We don't know what 1099s you may be getting every single year in and year out, or if you've got a brokerage account, unless you tell us. Now, if you've been a client with ours for, a year, 2 or 3, we go back in and we check, what did you have last year versus what did you have this year? Are you missing something? Are you missing a document? And if you are missing a document, we go back and ask. Or you filled out your organizer and you indicated that, hey, you have a brokerage account, but you didn't provide us brokerage statements. So, hey, we're going to ask you for those brokerage statements. If you got to go to Schwab or Fidelity or, Robinhood or wherever, you've got to go get those broker statements, the 1099Bs, so that we can do the taxes correctly. Reporting interest, dividends, or stock trades, or even cryptocurrency trades. These are all the questions that they need to be going through and doing, and helping you dot the I's, cross the T's to make sure that your tax return is done correctly. Then you come to us and say, hey, what can I do to save money from last year? Well, last year's over. So you only really have a few options, maybe an IRA, maybe an HSA, health savings account, maybe limited in what we can do in retrospect. But if you're a client of ours and you want to sit down and do tax planning, how do I save money for 2025? Let's do it. Let's plan ahead to save you money, because you can't do it retroactively for somebody of what you should have been doing during the year that you didn't do, but you could have done and saved yourself a whole bunch of money.
Barry, listen, you've got so much going on with your own business. You don't have time to keep up with other companies like yours, but I get the phone calls. And sometimes I'll screw with them because Barry is our tax relief expert. And I'll ask them, what do you do if you have to prepare their taxes? And almost every time, Barry, they'll tell me, well, we'll tell them to find someone, or we can give you some names of people. But at Taxation Solutions, you also prepare the taxes too. I was shocked how many companies don't do that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of companies that don't want to get into the nitty gritty of preparing a tax return. They just want to take your money for resolution,
Right.
and wait for you to go find somebody to go do it. But we know.
Did you know that?
Oh, I know that. I know there's a lot of companies that won't do them, or they'll send them out and have somebody do it overseas. Because they can get it done cheaply.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been approached to send our returns overseas, and I refuse. I'm like, no, this is America's tax. This is the tax for the U.S. People don't expect me to send them to India or Philippines and get their taxes done. They expect us to be able to do it right here and, protect their information. That's what we are about, here for them. But yeah, there's a lot of companies that won't do that. And then, it ends up delaying your case because, we know full well that you're going to be a little bit slower in going out and finding somebody to do it, or you're going to be looking for the local box store to do the tax return, and they're not open all the time year round. We're open year round for our clients, and we're here to help, and we're here to provide assistance. Plus, we also know if you are having to do many years of back taxes, let's say you have to go back 5-6 years, we do know what the rules and regulations of the IRS is. If we've got to do a return with numbers that aren't actual, that we can use some percentages and we can use some other things to get to the number that we need to do. We can take maybe some of the current years where we're having, income and expenses, and be able to apply, some ratios there to be able to file a tax return based on some ratios out there as well. And we get those accepted through the IRS. So we know how to jump through those hoops. But if you can get actual numbers are the best thing for your tax return, especially when you're dealing with actual numbers for, businesses and expenses and stuff like that. Now, being that we're representing you, and when we do a tax analysis and determine that, hey, you've got, let's say, 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years of taxes to do, we are able to get directly from the IRS wage and income information, as well as your brokerage information. Now, they're going to send it stock by stock trade, and it doesn't always have the cost basis on it. So we prefer to get the information from your brokerage statement, because it should have everything there. If you're dealing with crypto, all it has is proceeds, meaning how much money you received. It doesn't say what your cost was at all. So you've got to help us get the costs for those trades, as well. But we're able to gather a lot of information through our tax analysis and what we can get from the IRS when we're representing you.
Rex in Spokane, Washington. God, they're up early. Really enjoying your show. I have a concern I hope you can discuss. What does a person do that can't afford their tax bill?
Well, Rex, hey, good morning. I'm glad you joined us from Washington. What do you do? Well, most of the people that don't come to us have sat on it and ignored it, thrown it in the trash can, hadn't filed their return maybe. There's a lot of things that you shouldn't do, and every one of those is what you should not do. If this is the first time you're owing money, depending on how much it is, you can simply put an installment agreement together and pay it over a period of time. The IRS is going to give you a good number of years to pay this over, and should be a payment plan that you should be able to afford. Now, if this is one of many and this debt is quite considerable, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, million, whatever the number is, you need a company, you need somebody that's going to step in and deal with this. Taxation Solutions, of course, is the perfect choice of companies. Go to taxationsolutions.net. You can schedule a free consultation there, or just pick up the phone and call us at 877-996-6477. And you get that free consultation. We can tell you what we're going to be able to do. Most likely, we're going to start with a complete tax analysis. Let's see what the problem is, what we can do to fix it. Because I'll tell you what, just because the IRS is sending you letters or you owe, maybe the preparer did it wrong. Maybe the IRS was wrong. And we can find a way to go in and fix it, either maybe by amending a return and making it right and lowering the tax bill to maybe something you can afford, or maybe it's absolutely correct and we move to the next phase of determining what the solution is going to be, whether it's a installment agreement, offer and compromise, non-collectible status. Non-collectible is not a bad status to be in if your income's not going to change, to where the IRS doesn't collect anything, and then eventually the statutes run out. And especially if you're retired on Social Security, it's a good way to avoid having to pay those back taxes is through non-collectible. Or maybe it's a partial pay installment agreement. But the one thing I'm going to say is this: just because somebody tells you on the phone when you call, and if you call one of these big companies, they're going to sell you the offer and compromise, because man, that's the holy grail of what you hear out there. I can settle this for pennies on the dollar. It doesn't make it right. It's the easy solution to sell because it's the pipe dream. It's that holy grail that you hope to achieve, and you think you're going to be free and clear and gone. It does come with strings, 5 years compliance. It does stop the statute of limitations. Until that 5 years is done, the statutes actually stop the day that offer gets filed, not accepted, but filed. So it could be 6 years of compliance. Then the IRS checks every single thing on you before they will accept an acceptance. Not everybody gets accepted. Not everybody tells the truth to their person that's preparing the offer either. And that sometimes is why they don't get accepted. There are expenses IRS doesn't accept. And so you think you might be flat broke, but the IRS doesn't accept it in an offer like paying for your kid's private education or college. They don't accept those things. That doesn't take off from your bottom line of income available to the IRS. It's kind of funny because you got to fill out a FAFSA for your 18 or 19-year-old college student, and they hold you responsible for them and having to contribute, but the IRS doesn't allow you to use that as a deduction. Don't ask me. I didn't make up the rules. We just got to live within them. So, there's a lot of variables out there to solve your problem. But again, I know I've kind of gone long-winded on it, but the easiest solution is if you owe a lot of money or 10,000 or more, call Taxation Solutions 877-996-6477 if it's 1 year. Hey, maybe get somebody else to look at your tax return or us, and maybe it's a tax return problem. We can look at it and maybe fix it.
We're getting a lot of text today, Barry. This is somebody in your back. Isn't Tomball? That's part of Houston, right?
Yeah, it's just north of Houston.
Yeah. Marvin wants to know, and we get this question, I think, every show, Barry. What is Fresh Start? They make it sound so easy.
Hey, the Fresh Start is fresh money to the IRS. This is the way I look at it. So this was a program the IRS put together so it'd be easier for people to qualify for every single option of paying them money. So I considered it the Fresh Start program to bring fresh money to the IRS. It does include, simpler qualifications for OICs, offers in compromise. But again, if you've got the wherewithal to pay, you're going to pay. So it is, I consider it the fresh money to the IRS. They're going to give you a fresh start at paying them, and they're going to get fresh money from you.
Barry, but I don't know if you've seen many of the ads that tax relief companies do, and they talk about Fresh Start, but in their ads, they make it sound like no questions asked. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past is the past, and you're going to start off fresh. That's not true, is it, Barry?
Yeah, you're going to start off fresh paying them money.
Yeah, right.
You got to read between the lines. They make the qualifications a little bit simpler. Yes, they're still going to ask questions. They're still going to
right.
If you're going to set up a payment plan full pay and you can pay what they tell you to pay, guess what? They're going to give you very little questions, and they're going to not ask for all the information because you're going to say, hey, I'm going to pay this thing off, and within the time period they give you. Now, if you want anything lower than what they give you, now you got to start providing all the proof, all the documentations, all the 433s, A, B, D, all this stuff you've got to then turn around and provide to the IRS. Some of it to prove that, hey, you can't afford it. Some of it so that they can prove you can afford it. Some of it is so they can do a direct debit installment agreement and debit it right out of your account every month. If you can afford to pay your taxes within their time period, hey, great, more power to you. If you can't, get help. Just put a solution in place that solves the problem. If you don't know why you have the IRS problem, let's do a tax analysis. We got those 50% off today. Actually, I've been running it here for the last month. Ask the experts. Let us do a tax analysis. Let's find out why you do owe, and maybe we can find a solution within that to solve your tax debt as well.
Barry, I don't think people realize that you've got so many ways to help people. It's not just one way. There's so many solutions you have. And it's just, to me, I almost feel those people out there who owe the IRS and the kind of pressure that can be put on them. But I also know that if they hire Taxation Solutions, so much of that burden that's going to be taken off your shoulders. First of all, that it's going to be taken care of. Second of all, you've got somebody representing you to the IRS that knows how, has been doing this for so many years. I want to get one more question in because someone said to me, you mentioned an enrolled agent. Someone always asks, you're an enrolled agent. What is an enrolled agent?
So you see the EA after my name if you're watching this on YouTube or Talk for TV. An enrolled agent is licensed by the U.S. Department of Treasury to represent taxpayers to the highest level of the IRS, meaning we represent you. We work for you. We don't work for the IRS. This designation comes from the U.S. Department of Treasury. We've had to go through testing in order to get it. We go through a complete FBI background check, and then we have to do continuing education and renew our license every 3 years. So we've got to know taxes inside and out more than anybody else, more than any CPA does, more than any tax attorney or attorney does. We've got to know the ins and outs of everything about taxes, tax resolution, tax relief. And we have to follow a Circular 230, which sets down our guidance of how we've got to act and interact and work with you as our client as well, and with the IRS. So we have professional responsibilities and ethics we've got to maintain as well.
Let's get Alex in the chat line. Can they garnish your wages? Does the company you work for have to warn you about it before it happens?
Alex, thanks for the question. Absolutely, the IRS can garnish your wages, and a good company would warn you and tell you that they got the letter of garnishment and it's going to start effective this date. Do they have to? No. You've already been warned by the IRS that they have the right to levy your bank account. They have the right to garnish your wages, garnish your Social Security. And they can come after any of that. Now, when you're garnishing your wages, trust me, it's not, they don't leave you enough money to live on in any way, shape, or form. We have seen these wage garnishments come through. And people call us and say, oh my God, they garnish my wages and I'm only left with a couple $100 a week. You can't live on what they're going to leave you.
How did they decide on that, Barry?
They have a formula based on how you filed your W-4 with your employer, and they've got to go through and do this calculation. And I tell you, most people, once they get a wage garnishment, they quit and they leave because they can't live on what they're making from the company. So why continue to work?
Right.
You need somebody to step in, protect, and try to get this garnishment lifted. And there's ways to get these garnishments lifted in most cases. Now, some cases, you've really made an enemy of this revenue officer, and they're going to be a real stickler whether or not they're going to even come close to lifting this wage garnishment for you. Sometimes it takes us to get them just reduced to a small amount to where maybe where the installment agreement would be at. But, they're pretty upset when they get to this stage. But there are some solutions that we can put in place to either reduce it or eliminate it.
Barry, tell people how they can reach you.
So you can go to taxationsolutions.net. That's probably the slow way because you can go in and fill out a form and contact us again, taxationsolutions.net. But quick, fast, you want relief now, call us at 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. We do a very low cost tax analysis for people right now. So jump in and call and get the tax analysis. And over at truckertaxtools.com, we're offering truckers base bookkeeping, $25 a week, really inexpensive, really helpful for you as a trucker.
Barry's with us twice every month. He'll be back again with us next month. But you can go to the iHeart library under podcast and find today's show, Ask the Experts, Tax Resolution. And Barry, and I love doing this show with you, bro.
Hey,
I
thank you.
love
I love it too, man.
you don't put anybody down there. I know we only got a couple seconds left, but thank you so much, Barry, for being part of the Ask the Expert show for so many years. And hey, we'll see you again next month.
Yep, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, buddy. Hey, that's Barry Fowler, Taxation Solutions. Don't wait. Get this taken care of. That's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Thank you to our great producer, Rebel.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.